Hello Fabulous Ones, I am Tyler Tina with Community National Title. This week's Weird Wednesday episode comes to us by way of 8213 West Summerdale in Chicago, Illinois. Now, this little farmhouse was the home of the infamous John Wayne Gacy, better known as the Killer Clown. Now, John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and sex offender who was given the name Killer Clown because he regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown, persona he came up to try to earn the trust of children. Now, it makes me wonder if this is where Stephen King got the idea for the clown and it, because I'm telling you, that movie seriously freaks me out. I still won't watch it to this day. Now, Gacy was born in Chicago on March 17, 1942. He's got a birthday coming up soon. Now, outwardly, he appeared as an average middle-class American citizen, but some, however, would recall accounts of Gacy as nothing more than a sociopath. I mean, he had an abusive alcoholic father, and they said he was molested at a young age and had numerous health issues. Well, in 1964, Gacy married his wife and moved to Iowa, where he managed her father-in-law's Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants. I love that chicken from Popeyes. You can keep that KFC. But the couple had 2 children. However, Gacy's wife divorced him after he was charged with sexually assaulting one of his male employees in 1968. For that crime, Gacy was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but he was released for good behavior after serving only a fraction of the sentence. Now, they say fraction. I'm telling you, fraction is a joke, you guys. He didn't serve a fraction because he was actually granted parole with 12 months probation on June the 18th, 1970, after serving only 18 months of his 10-year sentence. Now, one of the conditions of his probation was that Gacy would have to relocate back to Chicago to live with his mother. That's right. He'd have to go back to the Windy City and Chi-Town. And let me tell you, Chi-Town was not ready for Gacy. Because this is when Gacy really picked up steam. He actually sexually assaulted, tortured, and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men between 1972 and 1978 in Cook County, Illinois. I mean, I was born during this time, you guys. And he did all of this inside of his Norwood Park ranch home. His victims were typically lured to his property by force or deception, and all but one victim were actually murdered either by asphyxiation or strangulation with a makeshift tourniquet. I mean, he was off his rocker. Gacy actually buried 26 of the victims in the crawl space of his home after he killed them. 3 more victims were buried elsewhere on his property, while the bodies of his last 4 known victims were discarded in the Des Plaines River. I mean, he was murdering and burying these people in his yard. He was crazy, right? Now, he was only captured in December of 1978 because authorities were actually investigating the disappearance of Robert Piest, and they discovered that the teen had last been seen with Gacy. Now, after they did some research and some digging and they learned about Gacy's sex crime conviction in Iowa, they actually went and got a search warrant, and that's when they searched his Norwood Park home. Now, while they were there, they noticed a strong stench coming from a crawl space, but at first they thought it was just a damaged sewer pipe. But on further inspection, they started to find several items, such as a store receipt that actually tied Gacy to Piest, and this was after Gacy said he had not seen him. And then other items were found that were linked to young boys that had been reported missing. Once that happened, Gacy knew the jig was up and he confessed. Of course, he tried the insanity defense, right? They weren't buying it. Now, the investigators actually recovered 29 corpses buried in his property, as well as the 4 that he had dumped in nearby rivers. And he said he only dumped them in the river because, get this, he ran out of room on his property, right? Now, after his conviction, Gacy spent 14 years on death row, which in my opinion is too darn long, during which time he made paintings of, guess what? none other than, you guessed it, clowns. Now he did other figures, but what's shocking is that these paintings sold for thousands of dollars. So there are people that actually have a serial killer's painting in their house. Now in May of 1994, after he had exhausted all of his appeals, he was killed by lethal injection at the age of 52 in the Statesville Penitentiary in Joliet, Illinois. Now, the house that is there today is not the house that was there in Gacy. That address was 8213 West Somerdale Avenue. Now, that house was demolished in 1979 during the search for, all those bodies. Well, in 1984, a savings and loan acquires a 60 by 140 foot lot at a sheriff sale for a mere $30,000. They only had to pay the back taxes that Gacy, his mother, and his sister owed, and they acquired the property. Now, the lot stood vacant until 1988. That's when Patricia J., that's what I like to call her because I can't pronounce her last name, bought it and built a new home on it. And she changed the address at that time to 8215 West Somerdale Avenue. Like, that's really going to make a difference. It doesn't. People still frequent that spot on Halloween. Now, Patricia J. sold the house in 2004 to its now current owners for $300,000. Now, the current owners have the property listed. It was originally listed for $489,000, but if you go out there and look today, it's listed on Zillow for only $425,000. I mean, I guess, makeshift cemeteries just don't bring what they used to, right? Now, on the listing, they actually state that the home has 2 baths, an updated kitchen with an eating area. Like, is that shocking? A separate dining room, a family room with a 2-sided fireplace, and a 2nd-story loft, and an attached 2-car garage. Does anybody want to mention that it's a former gravesite for 26 bodies? I guess not. So I'm curious, how would you guys market this property? Would you just list it as this agent did? Or would you leverage its infamous history? Or maybe just stick with it? So, tell you what, let's play. Comment below and give me your best heading or marketing strategy. And I'll give you a Starbucks card for the best one. This has been Weird Wednesday in Real Estate with Title Tina of Community National Title. Let us handle your next closing experience. Send me your next contract or listing at 214-994-7205. That's 214-994-7205. Come join our community, and I promise we won't send in the clowns. I will see you at the closing table. Toodles.